So I'm honestly not a huge garage sale fan at all. If it's on my way home, I'm gonna drive right by it and it looks okay, I may swing in, but that's about it. So I was really surprised to swing by one, and I spent a whole whopping $5 on 5 different items, $1 a piece, and I was honestly surprised what I found inside of these. Hey, it's Don. Today I actually stopped by for probably the first time in almost a year, a garage sale. And it's something I rarely do. I was actually talking to Dave over at $1 Million Peddlers the other day about this. If it's across the street, I'd probably walk across and check out what they had because it's a neighbor. If it's on the way home and I don't have to deviate from my course, I've stopped to, or if I can see it from the main road, I'll stop sometimes. That's honestly about it. I'm not a road warrior anymore these days. I don't really find a ton of stuff at a garage sale. Here and there maybe, but overall I'd be wasting a lot of time. I source completely different, especially since the pandemic. I'm able to, just do a few phone calls and email or something and boom, I'm all set, ready to go. But I'm honestly extremely happy when I find stuff that I remember from back in the day. Those are the items, I guess, that get me the most excited. And it doesn't have to be anything specific, something I remember from a store, a shop, music, toys, whatever. That's what I like. And they usually sell because they're old enough now to carry a value. Now, I picked up these, and I would call them poster sleeves. These are how you used to get them. Maybe you still do, I don't know. I haven't been to anywhere where they'd sell posters new, maybe Walmart, but these are the sleeves they came in. These are vintage, and you can tell just by feeling and looking at the plastic. Totally doesn't feel like what you'd find nowadays. Now, I could see one of the posters, what it was, because the name was visible here, so I kind of had an idea on what the rest would have probably been. I wasn't going to take them all out for $1. I knew that one would have at least given me enough to pay for these and probably double my money. But some of these actually had multiple posters in the same one. So the $4 investment in these allowed me to actually get 12 posters. 1 or 2 I think had just 1 in it, and the rest had 3 and 4 in each of them. So it was, a pleasant surprise when I got home. I didn't even think about multiples in the same tube. To me, it was a good deal either way you go. And the other thing I got for $1, let me set that down, was this right here. And this is, where does it say it? CB Jargon. For $1, there's probably no way I could lose on something like this. This probably dates to the late 60s or early 70s, and I say that because this artwork is extremely similar to I think it's a Topps chewing gum trade card set that covers CB and trucker lingo and stuff like that as well. So these do fairly well. I looked it up and I know I should be able to get at least 20 bucks back out of it. I don't mess with a lot of glass, but I do love the vintage stuff from back in the day, like B.J. McKay and his best friend Bear, if you remember that show on TV and stuff. There's a lot of nostalgia tied to 60s and 70s CB trucking and things like that. Keep on Trucking, there's posters, shirts, belt buckles, CB, there's belt buckles and posters and stuff like that. These don't show up very often, so it'll be an easy 20 bucks back on it. So that already gave me my money back on something like this. Again, around here, it's rare to find anything. I wouldn't even have stopped otherwise, so I'm happy that I did. Who knows what happened to these if I wasn't there. It didn't look like anybody was interested. I'm out in the country, so they don't have a lot of people stopping by the sales like you would in the city. Now, Marky, my wife's a huge fan of Tina Turner, so it was nice to get this in the lot. And I know this poster, too, because I remember seeing these types of posters back in the day at the record store. I don't know if this one's marked with the record number on it, but this is marked Winterland Productions Rock Express 1985 with the Tina Turner copyright. She owned her own copyright the way it looks, which is always good. Means she gets more of her actual money than giving it to somebody else. Now, this one's official poster. These aren't worth a fortune, but there's at least $400 in these posters that you see right here behind me. Again, there's 12 of them total. 20 bucks is about the lowest I would expect to take for any of them. I don't care if it takes a little while to sell. I'm still going to put it up higher and wait for the right person to buy it or the right one to be on. Now, I'm not showing these in any specific order. I really don't remember which one was which. I don't even know who this one is. This is Kim Carnes. Now I remember. Kim Carnes, singer. Betty Davis Eyes, I think, is one of her more popular ones. Let's see the date. I want to be careful because it's got a little split on the bottom. I don't see any copyright notice. I always look for copyright notices on posters. And I did look through these once just to see what I had, because obviously it might have been just junk. But in this case, as I said, I did see the title. Nothing on it. This is probably one of the generic ones you'd run across. Maybe it wasn't even licensed, but it'll still sell, you know, 20 bucks for something like that. There's some better ones in here. Now this is what I saw in one of the tubes. This is all I saw. Very obvious. And I knew instantly what this poster was because I remember this when it came out. It was all over the mall. You'd see it in the stores, and not just the music store or anything like that. It would be in the bookstore. Spencer's would have it. You'd probably be able to see this same poster 5 or 6 places in every single mall back in the country back in 1983. Now, as soon as I roll this out, I know some of you are going to recognize it, or at least the look he's going for in this one. Again, these are all originals, which I always like. I hate running into a stack and finding out that they're modern day repos or something. You really want the originals. So this is one of 2 of the Jacksons in general that I got out of the slot. And that's a really nice condition poster. Nothing really wrong with it. It's original 1983. Right markings, right everything. Again, not super, super rare. They made a lot of these posters, especially like this one. They could have made millions of them for all I know. Again, I'm just pulling them on down. Okay, now this one you could only see the name on it when I first pulled it out, but I'm sure somebody's going to know who that is. This one's kind of beat up. It was well used, would be my take on it, you know. And it's Andy Gibb, obviously. And this is from Western Graphics Corporation, 1978 Stigwood Group, which is correct. Again, these are all originals. It's cool to find something that's bordering on 50 years old at this point right now. So it's from the 70s. A couple more years, this is 50 years old. It's still inframeable. Obviously, it would need some touch-ups, or you might not mind the wrinkles. I don't know on stuff like that, but, you know, 20 bucks would be the low end. Let's see, which one is this one here? Okay, this one is, I'll give you the date on this one. This one's 1990 Lone Wolf Productions, and this is probably one of the bigger ones, but it's not tall. So, and I'll show you a trick on how to ship these a little cheaper in some cases. This is a ZZ Top if you haven't figured it out already. Let me roll it. It's a little longer than I anticipated. I don't know, it's a 4-foot, 6-foot poster. I'm not really sure. I don't know how you'd mount it, but it's a nice poster. One of them's Past, if you didn't know. Legs was, you know, one of the more popular ones when I was younger and stuff. And they played on the radio in the regular routine of all the regular rock, you know, heavy metal songs back in the day. You know, anyway, good poster either way. I haven't looked this one up. This one's 35 years old right now, so not too shabby. I don't remember that poster at all. That's probably a little past my time. Now this one's from RCA, and that's something else I saw before I pulled these out. So knowing how records are put out, knowing why RCA would be on a poster, this is a tie-in to the actual record that was released, and this was available only usually at the record stores, places that sold records. This is an official RCA poster. Wouldn't have been sold like at a department store, chances are, unless they had an RCA deal. Because RCA only supplied RCA material to companies that had RCA deals. They sold other items, radios, stereos, phonographs, posters, whatever the case may be. So I already know that the ones that are marked with the record company logo are the probably best ones to get in this line of stuff. Stuff that advertises a record. These are some of the best ones to get. Now, I'm not a fan of so much Rick Springfield, but Marky, again, my wife, is a huge fan. I remember this poster. I know the record. I found all of the records before. So this is a real deal. I think he does like DJ or something these days on XM radio, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I don't listen to but a few channels like Lithium or something like that is more what I listen to. But Rick Springfield, if you didn't know who that was. Again, another original poster. That one's worth more than probably the rest. The Tina Turner one's a pretty decent one. Now here's the next one. Now, I don't know if everybody knows their musical groups very well or not, but I knew who this was the second I saw the hair and the faces. This is Alabama. I think they had an updated version of Counting Flowers on the wall as well. But anyway, it's a nice poster. This is, let's see the date on this one, if there is a date. It must, 1981, Wild Country. It's an original. All these are original, and again, that's the biggest plus when I run into stuff out in the wild, knowing the difference. You might run into some posters that have that same basic date, but there might be like a reissue number somewhere else on it or a newer date besides that one. There's so much stuff that's repressed, redone, nostalgia printings and stuff like that. Even private people are reprinting stuff and making all kinds of stuff. When Hulkamania was a thing, I don't know if how many of you remember the Hulkamania. I'm sure many of you know who that is right off the bat. This one has no markings on it, and I looked really hard on it. I was hoping it was an official poster. It's probably just one of the secondary market posters. Licensed, I don't know. You'll run into a lot of the early Wrestling Day posters and material that were, I guess, printing quality wasn't so good, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And there'll be lower budget black and white posters when everybody else had color. They were cheaper. The events didn't garner as much crowd as they do, say in the last 20 years or so. This one, unfortunately, has some tape residue on the back. I didn't find any rips or anything. I don't know what the deal is with the tape, other than it probably was double stick tape, and they wanted to mount it on the wall. Now, the front side's really nice. This one's worth 40 or 50 bucks because it is an original one. Maybe a little more even at this time frame, even with the markings on the back. And you should already know what this is right off the bat. Right off the bat, if you're any kind of, fan of the 80s and stuff. This is Purple Rain. And it is an original poster of the time. It's not an original movie poster. This is an advertising piece. Let's see what's in the back. Nice Man Merchandise, Golden Valley, 1984. And it is a Warner Brothers official. And it has dating and numbering. So it's an official poster printed and authorized by Warner Brothers. Now, I've seen this one sell for 75 or 80 in excellent primo condition. So anyway, it's a pretty nice one. I don't know if we're going to sell these straight off the bat. I've got a lot of posters in the building out here. I might put like a 100 poster assortment together and just list those all together. You'll sell more usually if you list a bunch in the same genres, same era, same type of music. You might sell 4 or 5 to the same person who collects stuff from that same time frame. I've got a couple Michael Jacksons here. I've got a wall door-sized poster Michael Jackson from another pickup, and probably 2 or 3 other ones also. Okay, here's the other Jackson item here. This one, again, is a 20-buck poster. To the right person, I might get more than that out of it. This is the Jackson World Tour from '84, sponsored by Pepsi. Yeah, these are a little hard to show off, but not hard to photograph if you pay attention. But it's an original. Again, nice poster. Anyway, you see what it is. You can look these up too. You can look them up by the date and what I just stated, the World Tour poster, 1984 original. It's the same poster. Again, these are super easy. Every one of these will be no problem for anybody out there pricing, researching, and the whole works, because there's enough of these that sell on a routine basis that you can do extremely well if you research, if you know what the price range is. $1 for any of these posters is a no-brainer, to be honest with you. And I know there's new shipping regulations and such forth, which I'm going to show you a way that you can avoid paying the extra length for one of these when they're over that limit. The new limit, you have so many inches long in one direction before it has an increased surcharge. It's either $4 or $15, depending on how large the actual item is. I don't remember what this one is. Oh, okay. Magnum PI fans, any Magnum PI fans, you'll appreciate this one here. This is prime Magnum PI, Tom Selleck days. Again, it's an original. Let me roll it back up. It has a few spots where there is tape and it's coming off. It looks like double stick tape. It doesn't damage the actual fabric or the paper itself, but it does leave some discolorations that do not show through on the front. Guess I should have looked at the date. 1981 TWS, Tom something Selleck Productions. So it's a nice one. It's got a catalog number. And that's something else you can decide on what type of poster it is if it has a catalog number. Usually the catalog numbers, like if you go to Walmart even still today, I'm pretty sure they still probably have those cubbies. You'd have a flip chart of posters, full size, unrolled, mounted on this thing. The head shops always had these. And you'd slide through them and it would say Cat 45 or whatever the case may be. So if the posters were rolled inside or you couldn't quite tell which poster you were getting, it said the Cat number on the poster as well as the cubby as well as the plastic these came in. So, and these will do extremely well either way you go at it. And this one is a pretty neat one. Now this is a Harley-Davidson poster. I haven't looked this one up either because it's got to be worth at least 20 bucks. I couldn't imagine it'd be worth less than that personally. It's got Sylvester Stallone. Let's see if there's a year in here. Sometimes they don't have them. Yeah, it does have something in here. It's 1982 Harley-Davidson Motor Company. And it's for MDA, Muscular Dystrophy Association. Bikers Fight, you know, MDA, Harley-Davidson. It's obviously a Harley. Sylvester Stallone. I don't, again, know what this one's worth. I haven't seen this one before. I've seen probably all but 2 of these in the past, you know, because you'd go to the mall and hang out and you'd see the posters. It used to be a huge thing. Nowadays, I don't know if it isn't anymore or not, but that's just from a $5 pickup. A $5 pickup, knowing what I had, taking a chance that the rest of whatever's in there, the posters I couldn't see would be from the same time frame based on the plastic. Again, these are deductions I made based on just these. These are original plastic wraps from that time frame. You can see the discoloration. You can feel the way the plastic feels. It's got almost a waxy, not quite greasy, but it just feels different than modern day stuff. And that's what I always look for. You'll find toys and all kinds of stuff wrapped up in plastic, how they were issued back in the 50s even, that you can still run into that the plastic's still good. And the only giveaway is the plastic itself. Now, I'm not big at all into going to garage sales, to be honest with you. Around here, you could go to 8, 10 garage sales and not find anything, or just a couple dollars worth of stuff. In my business with employees and all, and you know, our overhead and all, I can't live on just a couple handfuls of things when I go out. So we go for the surefire bet when we're doing stuff. And with COVID, we've found other alternate sources. I do have pickers that I can either call or they call me mostly and say, hey, I picked up this, I picked up that, got a whole carload of stuff, you want to check it out? And that's where I usually go with stuff. Or I have connections in the real world, businesses and stuff that will give me a call when they get something in. There's some stops, some brick and mortar places that I still go to, but they're very few and far between. I'm not a thrift store sorcerer anymore these days. I've found better places compared to how my thrift stores are. Now, I'm not saying your thrift stores aren't any good. I don't know what your thrift stores are. I know there's other areas of the country that I go to thrift stores occasionally or have in the past, and I've run into some pretty good stuff there. Maybe not enough to live on or anywhere near the level of stuff I get, but if you're a single seller, you can do great on some of the thrift stores. In fact, we have in the past. So again, it depends on where you live as to how you source. I don't honestly mind going to garage sales, but I can't do it for a business because there's not enough money. And with like estate sales around here, people will wait outside in some cases if it's a big, huge one, sometimes overnight. Believe it or not, that's what I've seen. Garage sales around here, people show up the night before and act like they didn't know, or the day before and try to look at the stuff and get to buy it before anybody else does. Again, I've talked about this around here. I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but that's how it is here. Now, I told you earlier I would show you a way to mail a poster that'll lower the fees where you won't pay that extra $4 or $15 if the length of it is too long. Now, it won't work for every poster. It has to be within certain limits, but it'll increase the size of posters and material you can ship, you know, an extra 4 to 6 inches in length, because you won't be worrying about the overall length of it in general. So let's say this is what, 18 inches or something like that in length. I can shorten it and get it into a box that's about 14 inches in length and without damaging it or doing anything wrong to it. And that's basically using a box like this and running it diagonal in the box. Now, I have a video literally talking about this exact same thing because we've been able to skirt having to pay the extra fee for the length. They do not do a diagonal length at the post office. They only do, you know, the actual length of the package. So if I ship this in a mailer, the mailing tube at some point will be too big for the standard fee, and that's what killed like board games and things like that. But if you can get away with sending a poster in a box, you can certainly avoid the $15 fee in some cases and only have to pay the $4 fee. So it still makes many of the posters that you normally wouldn't want to ship because of the extra cost, especially if they're cheaper posters, it allows you to be able to ship them for only a couple of dollars extra. I don't make a dime on shipping. I mean, literally, I don't make a dime. I actually lose money on every single item I ship out because eBay takes a fee out of my shipping as well as the taxes. So we cover that difference by using our eBay purchase discount of the shipping labels straight through eBay or whatever platform, Pirate Ship, or even PayPal these days. We ship quite a bit of things from other sites, not eBay per se. But so again, it's diagonal is the point. And as a box, it's pretty sturdy. You can add extra cushion or whatever you want. I've never had a poster crushed shipping it in a box diagonally ever. And honestly, I avoid, for big posters, mailing tubes in general. I always try to stuff them in some form of cardboard box, extra cushioning, because once they're crushed, if it's a vintage poster, you can't replace it. So you're ruining something historical, collectible, if that happens, and your buyer is going to be upset about it. So anyway, it does work just fine. It's just going to get sent right in there. You can see this box is actually big enough to ship it this way. So if this item here was beyond the limits, I can do it that way. Again, there are limits on it, so you can't go over the limit on any length or width of the box and still ship it without having to pay that. So just keep that in mind. We've saved a lot of money by doing the diagonal approach to shipping posters and things like that. But anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
We're looking for good flavor in sugarless gum.
We're looking for a new kind of sugarless gum that's carefree. For good, good tasting sugarless gum that's carefree. Carefree is sugarless. Sugarless is carefree. You know about sugarless gum too carefree.
We found good flavor in sugarless gum.
Too carefree. It's sugarless. Too carefree.
It's good.
New Carefree from Beech Nut.